Hello everyone, welcome to the 11th episode of the Drunken Boxing Podcast, coming to you from Beijing, China. This is the second episode that I have had to do via internet call due to the ongoing current situation that has now affected the entire planet. Looking at the bright side, at least you can entertain yourself while at home during this period by listening to these podcasts. Before I introduce today's guest, just a reminder, if you guys enjoy the Drunken Boxing Podcast, as well as my other projects on the Mushin Martial Culture YouTube channel, you can support these endeavors through my Patreon, which can be found at patreon.com/Mushin Martial Culture, all one word. As always, I appreciate any support, and it helps me to be able to continue creating quality content for you guys. The links to our Patreon and YouTube channel are in the show notes. Moving on, today's guest is Guan Nan Wang, who is also known as Chris Wang. I have known him since he was probably around 10 or so years old, and he had just moved to South Africa. His father, Wang Guang Quan, was the martial arts instructor at the high school I attended, which was a Chinese high school. And he was also the head martial arts instructor to the monks living at the Nanhua Buddhist Temple there in South Africa. His father is a well-known martial artist who acted as the emperor Li Shimin alongside Jet Li in the famous movie The Shaolin Temple. But more about that in the podcast. Chris Wang has been doing martial arts for the majority of his life, studying under his father, and then moving on to study and focus on various styles, returning to Beijing annually to further his studies with his teachers. Over many years, these included Shao Bei, Yi Quan, Tang Lang Quan or Mantis fist, Taijiquan, and others. His key focus over the past few years has been on deep Taijiquan practice, and more recently he has started focusing his training on Wu Xing or 5-element Tombe Quan. These two are now constituting his main focus. He currently runs Tri-Essence Martial Arts in South Africa, and his contact details are in the show notes for anyone interested in reaching out to him. Chris has always been a serious practitioner of the Chinese martial arts, and someone who I watched grow up in the arts over the years, and his passion really hasn't relinquished. He has deep experience in these arts and insights into practices, which we discuss in what turned out to be a great discussion. I'm sure you will all find this discussion as fascinating as I did. So, let's get right into it. Here he is, Chris Wang. Okay, welcome Chris. Good to have you on here. You're the second guest that I'm going to be doing via the internet call. Usually I do these podcasts in person, and I was going to wait for you to be in Beijing again. But with this situation that's going on here, well, I don't know when that will be and what will happen this year. So I thought let's get it done by internet.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And
Okay.
yeah, I'm also a bit worried about, going back to Beijing this year. Might have to postpone it.
Yeah, you usually come back for a bit of time every year. So you were planning to come when? Same time again this year?
Yeah, usually in September to November.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll have to see by then. I'm quite optimistic that I think summer will actually make this virus burn out a little bit, but we have to wait to see what the reality is by then. So,
Yeah, well, I should hope so. I mean,
yeah.
it can't go on forever.
Yeah, it's pretty... I mean, I've been at home for 5 weeks. I'm going bloody crazy here, but, what can I do? It's better than getting sick, I suppose.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so why don't you give a little bit of... I'll start with a bit of a background. Chris Wang, I've known him since he was a young boy, way back when in South Africa. He originally hails from China, but I'll let him give his introduction about himself and his martial arts. So go ahead, Chris.
All right, yeah, so I've always been interested in martial art when I was a kid because, I used to see my dad practice. So I always wanted to learn from him, but he didn't want to teach me because I was getting fights at school. So he's afraid I'm going to, hurt someone or do something bad. And I always nag him. But so he didn't teach me until I got to South Africa. But then, he got invited to South Africa to teach at the Nanhua Temple.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was like a massive class. So I just joined in and I started training. So that was around the age of 11.
Okay, yeah, so
I trained with him.
that's when
Yeah.
you started training,
Yeah.
right? That was when you first started doing,
Yeah,
actually in
right.
South Africa.
Yeah, that's
when
when I
you were
first
a kid.
started training. Yeah, in South Africa, yes. I was going to do when I was smaller, but he didn't want to teach me.
Yeah. Understand.
Yeah.
Before we get into a little bit more, but I just want to just give a little bit of background. So I went to a Chinese school when I was growing up in South Africa, and Chris's father was called by the Nanhua Temple, which was a very big Buddhist temple that was built in South Africa. And he was also a teacher at the school, which was a normal school that I was at, as a martial arts teacher there. And because it was a Chinese school, there was also a connection with the temple. I remember seeing Chris and his dad. I'm a little bit older than Chris, but I remember I was in high school, and I think you were like 10 or 11 when I first saw you, and you were pretty tall for your age. I just remember you were this quite tall looking kid, and you were pretty interested in martial arts. I mean, I didn't really talk to you, but I remember that much. But your dad, your dad has a background in martial arts. He's also quite well known to people who have seen the movie Shaolin Temple, but they probably wouldn't know who I'm talking about. He actually played Li Shimin, right? The emperor in the movie.
Yeah, the Emperor of Tang.
Yeah, the Tang Emperor who the monk saved, which is basically the core part of the story. So that was your dad.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my dad.
Well, how did he get into that before we get into your background?
How do you get into the movie?
Yeah, I mean into movies and into that role and all of that. Is there any interesting
Yeah, so
info?
I think from what he told me at the time, he was working at a factory in Henan.
Okay.
Due to the whole, I don't know what's called back then. It's when the city people who are less red have to be moved out to countryside and other provinces to work in factories.
Right. So it was
So it's not,
forced
上山下乡. I don't know what's
right.
called in English.
Yeah, so this was a part of the a part of the communist government's drive to get educated people to go to the countryside or to work in jobs that were more labor intensive that they weren't used to, and then countryside people to come into the city to learn. So it was somewhat a forced move and change of profession, right?
Yeah. So he was born in Beijing. He grew up in Beijing, but he then was sent to Henan province. He was working in some factory.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's when the talent scout found him.
Okay.
And yeah, and I guess that's what he looked, like an emperor kind of character. So they called him.
Yeah, I mean, your dad has always come across as a bit of like a mystical air about him. I mean, I remember even the first time I saw him, he kind of reminded me of that. Yeah.
And he was very good looking when he was younger. A lot better than me. So kind of fit the role.
But did he have a martial arts background that was also part of the reason why they cast him?
Yes, yeah. He started training at a pretty young age as well in Beijing.
Okay.
He started with Tombe. That's his first style. Yeah, in Niujie, the Muslim street.
Yeah, interestingly, I just released that video that I restored of Bai and Tong Bei and the guys from
Bai and Tombe, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty famous place for it.
I think all Bai and Tombe in Beijing come from Niujie one way or another.
Yeah. So
that's like the only lineage. Yep.
Yeah. So just so the listeners know, Niujie is in the southern part of Beijing, and it's pretty well known today. If you want to go get Muslim food and Muslim things, it's actually the best place to go get that kind of stuff. It's a whole street of, I think a lot of Muslim people did live there, right?
Yes, it was initially an entire street just of Muslim people. I think now it's more mixed.
Yeah, now it's pretty commercial. Jesus, if you can afford to live there, you've got some money, So, all right.
Yeah. I do hear that they have the best quality of beef in Beijing.
Well, I mean,
buy high quality beef, you go there.
Yeah, my Shifu's wife, she would ride her bicycle from their home. Even up until recently, from their home, which is in Wei Gongcun, which is on the western side of Beijing, she would ride
that's pretty far.
Yeah, she'd ride all the way down there to buy beef and ride all the way back. So, Yeah,
Well,
it is the place to buy beef. But nowadays with Taobao, you don't need to do that. But you know, my Shifu's old and Shimu's old school, so they still did it that way.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's quite a far ride.
Yeah. All right. So you came to South Africa. Your dad came to teach martial arts specifically at the temple, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So you guys weren't living at the temple, or were you in the beginning?
We were actually. There was a yeah. Initially, we stayed at the townhouse just next to the temple structure.
Okay.
It was like built for some of the the people who work at the temple.
Right. Right. And how long were you living there?
Yeah. So we lived it. Oh, I lived there for about 2 years, I think.
Because that was quite a drive out of the actual town or city of Johannesburg. I mean, it was, or even Pretoria. It was pretty far out.
Yes, it's about an hour to Pretoria or to Johannesburg. It
I
was
remember.
really
Yeah.
in the middle of nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was actually quite a beautiful temple. If am I correct in saying that it was a Taiwanese government initiative or a Taiwanese community initiative that built the temple?
Uh, Chinese community. I mean,
Oh, that's
they
right.
from the Guangshan organization, right? So they like, I'm not sure if the government funded them, but they get funding from a lot of the Taiwanese business people
Yeah, yeah,
to build a
yeah.
temple.
I mean, I remember when I was still in school, most of my Chinese friends were actually from Taiwan. There was a huge Taiwanese population in South Africa,
Yes,
but
yes. When
that
I first
slowly
came here,
changed.
it's all Taiwanese people.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, when I first came here, I don't see mainland people. It's all Taiwanese everywhere we go.
Yeah, so why did that's also interesting that the Nanhua Temple contacted somebody from the mainland and didn't look for somebody from Taiwan to teach there. Do you know anything about that?
Uh, okay, I don't know why the the abbot at the time, Hui Li Fashi, didn't look for someone in Taiwan, but he
Hmm.
was traveling frequently to Beijing to organize like like classical structure architects to help him design the temple.
Oh, okay.
And yes, and during that time, he was asking around if they know of a martial artist who's also a Buddhist. So he
Oh,
was
right.
very strict on those requirements. It had to be a martial art master as well as a Buddhist
Yeah.
that he would like to invite to South Africa. And I mean, there's like, quite he's quite recognized amongst happen to the same group of people, the people who does the classical architecture, who restores temples and stuff.
Oh,
So
really?
then, that's how, yeah,
Well, that's interesting.
yeah, and he also, yeah, Hulivash also contacted one of the curator of the Forbidden City, who's
Okay.
also like a longtime friend of my dad.
Okay.
So that's how his name popped up a couple of times, and that's how Hulivash eventually arranged a meeting.
Right, right. Okay, well, so it was, I mean, quite an interesting roundabout way, but I guess fate works like that. And
Yeah.
yeah, were you raised, I mean, did your dad raise you as a Buddhist?
Yes, yeah. I took my refuge at 3 years old and my layman vow at 5.
Okay. Yeah, but your was it was Tibetan Buddhism, right?
Initially not. When I took refuge at 3, he was at Guangji Si, which is a Chinese Buddhist temple.
So Chan.
He was yeah. I'm not sure if Guangji Si's Chanzong is, but it is a Handi Forjiao place.
Okay.
It is one of the Chinese Buddhist temples. So initially he was going there all the time. I used to go with him when I was small.
Okay.
And yeah, then later on, that Guangji Si, which was actually one of the very old, probably one of the oldest temples in Beijing, was built in the Yuan Dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Beijing Jushilin, which is like the Beijing Layman Society, happened to be borrowing an office at Guangji Si to operate because at the time they didn't have their own space.
Okay.
So my dad got to meet with the head of the Layman Society. Now, the Layman Society in Beijing is it's not exclusive to Tibetan Buddhists. I mean, you can be a Chinese Buddhist and also be part of it.
Right.
But its head, the two headmasters, themselves are Tibetan Buddhists.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So that's how my dad got in contact with Tibetan Buddhists. And then eventually he was converting to Tibetan Buddhism.
Right. And you too.
Yes, yeah. Well, back then I didn't really know anything, so I just followed him.
Oh, of course. Okay, so it was more about your dad's influence at that point. Okay.
Yeah, because I was like, yeah, it was between 3 to 6.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
You guys eating meat when you first came to South Africa? I don't remember.
Yes. Well, when I was 3, we weren't eating meat back in China because I was like he was going for the very strict Chinese Buddhist tradition.
Right.
But after he was converted to Tibetan Buddhism, then we started eating meat again.
Yeah, you can eat meat under Tibetan Buddhism. You don't eat fish, is that?
Yeah.
I don't remember. Is it fish?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything with
Yeah.
scales.
I don't eat seafood. I don't eat seafood. Like
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Yeah, well, that's interesting. All right. So let's get back to you. You came to South Africa. You started training when when your father started teaching, both in the temple
Yes.
and at the school, right?
Yeah.
And your dad was busy training and teaching the monks at the temple. Is that right?
Yes, because Holy Fashi, the abbot at the time, he's got this wish that his African monks are like Shaolin monks too. They can like do kung fu and then recite Buddhist scriptures. That was kind of his dream.
Right, right. Did it ever get to what he wanted? Because I met some of the guys that were monks there for periods of time. Some of the African monks that had done some kung fu, but I don't know much of. Like I met quite a few that were in the temple for some time and then left. I don't know how many people stayed through and actually gained skill
I see, yes.
and became pretty deep in Buddhism too.
Yeah, there's a lot of the monks. You see, they got monks from Central Africa, like Angola and Congo and places like that. And and they sort of attract them to come here for free education.
Okay.
So it's not really the religion that those people are interested in. It's more like a way out.
Oh, right, I see.
So for some of them that I know of, they come here, they learn Chinese or Mandarin, and then they'll just go out and become translators. I've also met one who was like, I met one in Alice Park, and he was like, doing trade with Chinese people.
Oh, really?
So they don't all, they don't all remain as monks. And those that lost the first 3 years, I think, then they get sent to Taiwan for further study in the in the Foguangshan headquarters.
Oh, right. Okay. So they go more into the Buddhism side.
Yes, but a lot of them, they just see this as a stepping stone to get out of their own poverty.
Okay, I see. I get it. And how long was your dad teaching there for?
I can't remember. He was teaching there for at least 10 years. Kind of lost count. It's been quite a while.
Yeah, yeah. And after he stopped teaching there, you didn't carry on teaching in his place, did you?
No, I didn't.
You didn't want to?
You see, what happened was, Huili Fashi, the abbot that invited us here, he eventually left. I don't know what happened, politics or whatever, and he went and built another temple, I think in Malawi or something. So the Nanhua Temple was under new management, and we didn't feel an affinity to the new management.
Right. Was the new management out of mainland China? I think that's what happened.
No.
Still out of Taiwan?
No. They still from Foguangshan.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And there was at the time where they constantly switching abbots. There was quite a few abbots in like a few years.
Now that you mention it, I actually remember that. I remember that. Yeah. Yes.
And every abbot got like its own his or her own idea on how to run the temple.
Yeah. I remember that.
So just keep going back and forth, and I don't really like all the politics going on.
Yeah, that's never good. Politics in anything just makes everything very uncomfortable and counterproductive.
Yes, and at some point, they were saying the monks, the African monks they have don't want to do martial art anymore.
Really?
There was a lot of different. There was a lot of different opinions from. It's like they keep switching different opinions.
Well, that's interesting. Well, You know,
Yeah.
I still remember way back then, like even the Chinese martial arts scene in South Africa, what a mess it was. I mean, not in terms of each school being messy. I mean, schools were all different, but just the whole idea of Chinese martial arts in general in South Africa was pretty messy. There was a lot of people pretending to be things they weren't. There was a lot of animosity, like politics between schools, and
Yes.
it's.
Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, I started the whole thing with the South African Wushu Federation to try kind of move it forward, but actually, I mean, it's very hard to. Everybody's got their own agenda. Everyone's got their own. Well, a lot of people are trying to just they're not in it for martial art. They are in it for martial arts, but the number one goal is that they are successful. So there's always going to be difficulties. But
I actually think a lot of them aren't really interested in martial art. They're more interested in making money.
yeah, that's the bottom line, I think. So when it gets to that
Yes.
point, it's always one sees another martial artist as a competitor. Like when I was younger, I still remember one martial arts school and another martial arts school. I didn't understand why they didn't get along, because I'm always interested in looking at other martial arts and comparing skills and seeing what's different and what's alike. But as you understand, it's not about martial arts like you just said. So yeah, it kind of goes backwards.
Yeah, because I remember like long ago, before the Wushu Federation, with like Saru, Swanepoel,
Yeah, the
and then
Swanepoels. The-
yeah, it was a lot of politics.
Yeah. I remember that
They were
because
constantly saying,
yeah. Go ahead.
yeah,
No, you go ahead.
yeah, yeah, they were constantly telling us, that they're gonna shut down Leo Zebra, they're gonna shut down this guy and that guy who isn't part of the affiliation. Yeah, it was just a bunch of power play. Like they're not actually interested in martial art itself or the knowledge or the research of it.
I used to be pretty upset when I was trying to unite all the martial arts schools in South Africa to get together, to come together, to at least have some sort of a competition. I was upset when schools didn't want anything to do with it because they were just focusing on their own thing. But as I got older, as I became more mature, I kind of, that's okay too. I mean, if people don't want to be part of an association or be involved in a federation, why should anybody force them to do anything? Let them do whatever the hell they want to do. In today's day and age with the internet, people are able to check and see and be exposed to so many legitimate things. So if somebody's making a claim, it's not difficult for you to check to see not only what his claim is, but to see if what he's teaching you matches what he's claiming. And if that school continues to exist, even if it's good or bad, it's up to each person. I don't see why, I don't think anybody should be forced into anything, because martial arts is a personal thing at the end of the day, so.
Yeah, it is.
But I know how
Yeah, I
hard
think
it is.
for them, it's mostly for money.
Yeah, but I know how hard it is, like for guys
Yeah.
that like you that have legitimate martial arts skills and legitimate martial arts knowledge to teach, because people are being advertised so much stuff, they don't know the difference. So I do know it can be frustrating too. So, and anyway, we've kind of gone off topic.
Yes.
Yeah. But let's get back to you. So you came to South Africa, you
All right.
started training. What was your dad teaching mostly when he was if I remember, you guys were teaching Shao Bei, right?
Yes, yes. That's his main style. So he started off with Bai and Tombe when he was like young, and then he got sent to various places during the Cultural Revolution.
Yeah.
So I think when he was in Chengde, he was training in like one of the woods where he met some Shao Bei people.
Okay.
And then he liked what they do, so he started doing Shao Bei. I think that he was around 20 something at the time. And then eventually he was pretty good, so they took him to Zhang Rongshi, who was the head of Shao Bei at the time. And he stayed at his home for a couple of months, learning everything. So that became his main style. But when he came back to Beijing, he taught Shao Bei at the Dongdang Wushu Guan, one of the first government-instated martial arts schools in Beijing, I think, after the Cultural Revolution.
Right.
Yeah, I think it was headed by Li Bingci and Ma Hanqing.
Okay,
I think
I do
they were
know.
like,
Yeah. I know the place you're talking about. So I'm just for the
yeah. So my
listeners
dad
that
fought
don't
over them.
know. I just want to quickly give a bit of background so they kind
Sure.
of. Shao Bei is two characters. Shao is in Shaolin Shao, and Bei is in Northern Bei.
Yes. Yeah.
What is the style's roots, if you could give? Because it's not very well known, especially not in the West.
Yeah. I think there's someone in Italy that's promoting it, and that's about it. I don't know
Yeah,
anywhere else where people actually knows about it.
yeah.
Okay, so the official story, according to the system themselves, right, from Zhang Rongshi, is that some monk who exiled from the temple went to Shanghai Guan,
Okay.
and that's where he learned it from, because his original home is in Shanghai Guan
All right. So
before he moved to
Shanghai
yeah.
Shanghai Guan is actually the Great Wall door where the Manchus actually came in from when they set up the Qing dynasty and invaded China. That was, if I
Yeah,
the last stronghold was Shanghai Guan. That's actually where the doors opened from the inside and they came in.
yes, it's one of the important keeps
Yeah, yeah.
on the Great Wall.
Right. Okay. So
So
yeah, carry on.
so that's according to him, right?
Mm,
Grandmaster Zhang Rongshi.
right.
And he learned it from there, and that's how it came. And then later on, he moved to Jinzhou, which is like it's like a town in Dongbei,
Mm,
and that's where it took root. But obviously, after growing up and being more read up on martial art history,
mm.
I don't really know if I believe his tale.
Yeah. Why? What makes you
Um,
skeptical?
like if you read the Shao Bei classics, right, the manuscript, you can see that there are stuff that got borrowed from all kinds of different styles.
Okay.
So probably the pure Shao Bei guy are gonna hate me for saying this, but I really think Zhang Shi made the style up himself. I mean, it's not saying the style is bad or it doesn't work, but I don't think it has a history that he claims.
You know, to be honest, between you and me, I kind of had the same feeling. I thought he created the style myself. That was what I always believed.
Uh, yes, because one of the section in the curriculum is 24番,
Mm-hmm.
and its manuscript is exactly the same as 番子拳.
Well, yeah, that's it. That would make sense.
And I mean, it's like, okay, and you can argue they all have the root in Shaolin, but it can't have the same manuscript.
For sure. For
And
sure.
then part of the other 柔化拳, the manuscript you can see some of the is kind of copied from the Tai Chi classics.
Yeah.
So you can see bit and pieces that he puts together. It doesn't, the script itself doesn't look like it's completely unique.
Well, that's the interesting thing about Chinese martial arts. And what you've just said is actually pretty common, actually, if people look closely at a lot of Chinese martial arts through history.
Yes, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't know why
No.
people get so offended because they don't have a 1,000-year history.
Well, that is it. I mean, this is why people have to invent a story and they have to create classics, is exactly because people
Yes,
expect something. If it's good, it's got to be very old. It's got to be connected to some important person in history, and it's got to have these classics that are well written and deep. So a lot of the time, people actually invent that just because that's what people want to legitimize the art. But the art itself is good. I mean, when I look at Shao Bei, it looks like a very practical, well put together system. I was always impressed by it. I could
yes.
see personally. Well, it looked like there was Chuojiao, it looked like there was Fan Zichuan, it looked like there was a bit of Tong Bei in there, but that's just from a layman's perspective. But that's not a bad thing, right? I mean, it's a good, well put
No, it's
together
not.
system.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, I think if you kind of distance yourself from the branding, then the history doesn't really matter, right? You wanna just make sure whatever you do is effective and well sort of.
right, right. So, could you explain the system, content, and curriculum a little bit? And maybe give a description of the style?
So you start off with like what they call 气功 Pao. It's like 7 basic handworks.
Okay.
Well, it's actually it's first called 手气功, so the 7 practice of the hand, and then they add the stepping and the kick, become 气功炮, the 7 cannons.
Right.
And after that, you move into like I think one of the after that is 24番, and then they are called I can't remember too well, but 24番I think is considered as shorthand. And then they have like long fist, which they call 点杠拳.
Oh, okay.
It's one of the main one. One of the main long fist form is called 点杠拳. The other one is called 禅林拳, I think. I learned 点杠拳. I didn't learn 禅林拳.
I actually remember seeing you. I remember seeing you do Dian Gang Quan, way back when you were still a kid.
Yeah, that's one of the main forms, so to speak, in the style. And after that, they have like 柔化拳, which is supposed to be an advanced, more softer style.
Okay.
Which I think, they kind of got the idea from Tai Chi.
Right.
At least the idea, right? The movement, maybe not, but the idea that, after being hard, you have to be soft. And that soft is like at a higher level than the hard style.
Right.
So that, and then they have different type of weapon, like they have like 8, they have like the 13 straight sword, and then the 8 broadsword, and they have all kind of other weapons.
Right.
So I learned the straight sword. I did a bit of the broadsword, but the rest I didn't. Wasn't really interested at the time. Also because the curriculum is too big. There's so many different things.
Right. Well, that's one of the things with a big curriculum is sometimes people just aren't able to focus properly on the whole thing because it's too big.
Yes, I think in fact, besides Grandmaster Zhang Rongshi, I don't think anyone else really learned everything completely.
Right. Well, that's interesting. So I think
and they also have a lot.
Yeah, you carry on. So yeah, no, you carry on.
Okay, they also have a lot of external training like iron hand, hitting trees, kicking trees. They have a lot of those external training as well.
Conditioning, basically.
So, yes, conditioning. So Zhang Rongshi's theory that you have Wu and you have Shu. So Wu, according to him, is the accumulation of training, the conditioning, all of that. And then Shu is the form and the technique that it holds, stuff that you use as techniques.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. I think that's a very well-rounded and practical approach to a system and to martial arts. So, like I said, who cares if it's not authentic? The stuff was put together by himself or whatever. It's a well thought out system, and that's what always struck me about it. So how long did you do that for?
I did that from about 94 to about 2004, I think. So it's about 10 years.
Yeah. And that was what your dad was also teaching mostly, correct?
Initially, yes. And later on, he sort of didn't, because Shao Bei is kind of hard. So students can't, a lot of them can't endure the training.
Right. So what did he switch to, or what was he teaching afterwards?
After he was doing some contemporary stuff for people who want to do performance, and some Tombe to others, and there was some Baji. Like a bit of a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I actually remember
but those
that.
are kind of easier.
Actually, now that you mention that, I do remember at the school, at my school, Guoding, there were guys that were doing Baji, there were guys that were doing some other stuff too. So I do remember.
Yes, but Baji, again, it's not to take anything away from the style. It is easier for beginners because the movement is simpler, right? And you have like very defined stance and very defined move.
Right.
Shao Bei, you constantly leaping around and kicking and punching at the same time.
Right.
So it just requires a more suppleness, stretching, balance, stamina.
Right. It's
just not very great for newcomers, especially South Africans who they tend to have less supple legs.
Yeah, totally. And Shao Bei, you need that. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to kick a lot. So for them, it's not really fun. For a lot of them. But for Baji, you have like your horse down, you just punch most of the time, or low kicks. It's easier for them to
do.
grasp, and therefore they get interest and they stay for longer.
Right. It was I don't know if you've seen that old like 1970s 1980s documentary that was made in China called 中华武术. This is Kung Fu, I think it was called in English. If I remember, they actually had Shao Bei in it. I must actually find it. I have the DVD somewhere. I should.
I see. I have seen that full footage of the. I think the one you said was not the original title of the footage, because Grandmaster Zhang Shi, he was. They filmed him and they called it 武林园丁. That was like the original documentary about him and Shao Bei.
Okay.
But I think later on, other documentary just took that footage and
used
they also
it.
including the documentary.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I think the original one is called 武林园丁.
Okay. Yeah.
Where they were like in like a like a soil ground wood kind of place.
Right. That's
all
it.
dressed in white with like Shao Bei
Right.
On the shirt, and they were doing stuff.
That's exactly it. Yeah, and they were one after the other doing some drills. Yeah, with kicking combinations
Yes, yeah.
and some things. I do. Yeah, I think it's the same footage.
Yes.
It's the same footage.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. So what made you move on from that, and what did you move on to?
All right. So 2003, when I finished matric, finished high school. I decided I'm gonna take a year off and go back to Beijing to further my training.
Right.
Yeah, and so I went back, and I first started with my father's Shao Bei brother, because I don't know anyone in Beijing at the time. I haven't been back for like 9 years.
Okay.
So I started with my father's Shao Bei brother in the Temple of Heaven.
Okay.
So I was doing Shao Bei, and then yes, and later on, he took me to Jinzhou, right, the origin place of Shao Bei, and learned from his master, who was Grandmaster Li Fengjiu.
Okay.
So that's where I furthered my study in Shao Bei. But when I came back to Beijing after a period of stay there, I was training in the Temple of Heaven. I heard someone was, because like in Beijing, right, when you train at a place, there's a bunch of people that are talking all the time. So I heard someone was saying that at the east gate of Tiantan, Temple of Heaven, there's like a Yiquan guy who was really, really good.
Right.
And that kind of got me curious. So one day, that guy who told me about it took me to visit him. And he was kind of young. He was like 30 at the time, not like the kind of master that I had in mind. He wasn't old or gray. So I asked him, I said, I've read books about Yiquan and Wang Xiangzhai, and it sounds almost like fairy tales, what he does. Of course, later on, I realized a lot of the texts about him were very exaggerated.
Yeah.
But at the time, I asked him, I said, how do you make someone like fly back and fall flat?
Yeah.
And then he showed me, he did like a Yiquan Hu Pu.
Yeah, tiger pounce.
And I really I really just flew back, fall flat on the Tiantan's, soil floor, and my arm was all scraped, bleeding and stuff.
So he was like, "Oh, come here, let me show you." Nice.
Yes, yeah. He didn't explain to me what to expect. He just stand there, and I stood there, and he went pat, and I like flew flat on my back.
Right.
And I got up, and I was still a bit shocked because I didn't expect that to happen. And then he said, "Come here." He didn't even give me a break. He said, "Come here," and then he placed his fist on my left shoulder, about my left chest and shoulder area.
Yeah.
And he did like a Yiquan punch.
Yeah.
And I heard this massive noise in my ear, and I couldn't breathe, and I was completely in shock for a few minutes.
And he didn't use any wind-up. He actually had his fist on you.
No, he did. Yeah. He placed the fist on my chest. He said, "I'm going to just tap you here."
Yeah.
But at the time, I saw he punched me really, really hard.
Right.
It's only like a month later where I saw him do it on somebody else. That, from a third-person view, it was just a tap. It wasn't like a huge punch. Anyway, so after that experience, I went home, I thought about it, and then the next day I went to him and I said, I want to learn Yi Quan.
Right.
Because, as good as Shao Bei was for me, I do realize that it lacks the ability to severely hurt someone in a single hit.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't have maybe if you do Iron Hand, it makes it better.
Yeah.
But for me at the time, it just doesn't feel like it had the same type of destructive power as this Yi Quan master.
Right.
After that one tap to my chest, I was like in shock. My head was dazing. I was hearing noises in my ears. If he wanted to hurt me further, I'm completely defenseless.
Right.
It's not like a tactical advantage where you have a superior technique and you gain advantage. It's literally one hit and then
it's over.
And that's it. I couldn't fight back.
Right.
So that's also when I start to believe in this whole thing about internal style. Before that, because you see, the external style people, even like Shao Bei, they kind of look down on internal. Like among their own people, they used to say, when you meet like internal guys like Tai Chi and stuff, you just punch and kick them at the same time, and they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of mindset I was taught.
But they're not wrong. Look, I hate to say this, they're not wrong. And this is why I don't like the categorization of internal and external, because it's been misunderstood. Like when we say internal, people are like, okay, Taiji, Xingyi, Bagua, internal, and they are superior. No, it's firstly high level and low level. And what you saw in Yi Quan and Xingyi Quan is a focus on making a highly refined motion, like body mechanics, structure, alignment, using your weight. They focus on that. So the problem today is that a lot of people that do Tai Chi are not doing it to develop this high... I hate to say this, but it's unfortunately the truth. Most people are doing Tai Chi as a hobby. They're doing Tai Chi as in a very lay way. And they're, because of the classification of it being internal, when a guy that's supposedly doing a non-internal style meets him, he's expecting him to be a really good fighter, but most of the time they're not. They're not focused on that.
Yes.
I'm sure if you did Shao Bei now, knowing what you know, and I'm jumping ahead, knowing what you know now through your training of Yi Quan and other styles that are considered internal, you could probably make Shao Bei better. This is just in terms of body mechanics. Okay, it's limited in its techniques, but yeah, you get what I'm saying.
In the striking power, yes, and also before I went to the Yi Quan master, I also spent some time with Xu Shixi. Is a Chen style and Yin style Bagua master, also in Tiantan, Temple of Heaven.
Okay, I actually went to see him last month. Did you see the video I made?
No, I didn't see that video. Wait, maybe I did.
I'll send it to you. I just actually released it like maybe 2-3 weeks ago. Actually, it's because there's a guy from America, from New York, that I know here, and he was on the podcast too. And
I see.
He came to China to train with Xu, and he's been training with Xu for months and months. Well, sorry, not months and months, years and years and years here. And so I decided to go film. I'll send you the link. But anyway, carry on about Xu Shixi.
All right. Yeah, so I trained with him for about 3 months, and I wasn't convinced about internal at the time.
Right.
So before I met my Yi Quan master, I did kind of, try out other internal style like Chen style Tai Chi. I only did Chen style with him. I didn't do Bagua.
Okay. I think his Bagua is his strongest. I think it's is stronger than his Chen Tai Chi. I think he did much more Bagua than Tai Chi. So
it could be, but when I went there in 2003, majority of his students were doing Tai Chi.
Well, that's because Tai Chi was just so famous. Yeah. So you know what people are like. So
yes, and I didn't even know he did Bagua until like a month later I saw there was like one guy circling the tree. But yeah, so I wasn't convinced when I was training with him. I also met a friend who did Song style Xingyi.
Okay.
He's a disciple of Zhang Zengji.
Okay, who became the president of the Xingyi Association in more recent years.
Yes. Yeah, so I met him through some online forum, and we met up in real life, and and did some friendly exchange.
Okay.
And he did hit really hard,
Right.
but he was quite big. He was like 90 kilos. He was like a big, slightly chubby guy.
Okay, that
So
helps.
he was moving really slow. He was moving really slow. So although he hit really hard, and I can't really take it, but I was always able to evade it and move around.
Right.
So at that time, my limited, impression was that, okay, internal style hit really hard, but it's really slow. So I can just move around, use my speed, and win.
Right.
And this was proven untrue when I met the Yichen master,
He's fast.
because he didn't have a wind up to his strike, right?
Yeah.
That's a Xingyi friend of mine. He has a wind up, so I can see it before he hit, and therefore I can move out of the way. But my Yichen master, he literally plays the hand right in front, and he walks forward, and whatever I throw at him, he will just try to deflect with his arm, and the moment he touches me, the hit comes through.
Right.
So there was no way to read what he was gonna do and to move out of the way, but he didn't actually do anything until he really touches me.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically a description of Yichuan, what you've just said right there. When they're not in contact with anyone, you don't actually know what's going on. The second they make contact with you, there's some sort of a serious amount of force coming through. So, yeah, that's...
So he will either pull me and I'll look down completely forward, he will spin me, I'll go around, he'll just break my structure and then hit me.
Yeah.
And there was nothing I can do at the time about what he does. So that's when I was finally convinced that, okay, internal styles does have something special that external styles don't have.
Right. So then you started training with him.
Yes. Yeah, so I spent the rest of my trip there majority training with him.
Okay.
At some point I also went and tried out Taijiquan plant flower Mantis.
Oh, I do remember you did that. Yeah, I do remember.
Yes, with his name is Ma Weilin 老师.
Okay.
And he's a disciple of Ma Hanqing. So they're like the Ma family Mantis in Beijing.
Right.
Yes, and I went there because I heard the story about Yao Zhongxun being hit on the jaw by a Mantis master.
Yeah, I remember that.
Shan Xiangling.
Right.
Yeah, so I heard that, and I was like, how does a Mantis guy beat a Yichen master? So that's when I went to learn. It's only years later that I actually heard the truth. It was more of a sucker punch than an actual challenge.
Which is more common than not than people actually realize, especially in the history.
Yes, I mean, I don't know for sure if it was a sucker punch. Because, I mean, it happened, like in the 40s or 50s, I think.
Yeah.
But this was told me by someone from the Shan Xiangling lineage of Mantis.
Okay, interesting.
So I thought maybe it's more trustworthy if their own people say that it was more like a sucker punch.
Okay.
So I think the way he told me was, at the time Yao Zhongxun was humiliating. What's that Taiji master's name? Yang Yuting.
Right.
Yang Yuting is like a nice guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't like trouble, and they all taught in the same park. So Yao Zhongxun was kind of, maybe not humiliating, but he was kind of looking down on him.
Yeah.
And Shan Xiangling being a friend of Yang Yuting, he just came out from the side and threw a punch.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember my teacher, and this is what a lot of people don't know, and I've mentioned this before, that a guy came, same kind of thing. One day I was training with my teacher. A guy came and he was watching, and then he spoke to my teacher. He said, "Oh, your student, he trains well. Can I test him?" And my teacher said, "Yes, sure, go ahead." And the guy said to me, "Oh, let's do a little bit of." I don't remember what he fucking wanted to do. It wasn't like let's fight, but it was let's fight. I didn't understand that then. And so basically, I was being very polite, right? I was being really polite, and I was just defending. He didn't get through, but I didn't hit him. I didn't go out of my way to hit him. I just defended myself, and that I stopped whatever he was doing. And then after a few minutes, he was like, "Oh, 很好, 很好, 不错, 不错," and he left. Like, "Oh, not bad," and he left. He left in a hurry too. I don't know why. And then I was eating lunch with my teacher afterwards. And my teacher was really quiet afterwards, but like really quiet. And halfway through lunch, he just looked at me and he said, "What do you think I want you to do when people challenge you?" And I was like thinking of the most, the right thing to say. I just said to him, "Oh yeah, you want me to like be respectful and don't go out of my way to hurt somebody." He's like, "No, I don't. I want you to smash him. I'll scold you in front of him. I'll scold you in front of him, but in my heart I'll be happy." And then he explained to me, he said, "Over here, that's how things are. You don't understand because they will go and make another story about anything that happens. Like the sucker punch.
Yes.
They will go invent it. I beat the guy. Meanwhile, it was a sucker punch or it was a draw, or he came like the guy who came to me, and he's gonna go around telling people, Di Goyong student, yeah, he didn't do anything to me, no. But you see how they change. So he said the only way to avoid that is to make it so overtly clear that the guy that has lost that he cannot make such a story. So yeah, just coming off that story. So.
Yeah. Look, I mean, contrary to the popular Western belief, right? The Chinese martial world is not like the kung fu movies.
Yeah.
It's all about Zen-like mentality and all the hippie stuff.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. The Chinese martial art efficacy is actually quite different to common Western stereotypical idea.
Yeah.
Like my current master, my Wu Xing Tombe master, he even told me like, if somebody invites you to help him do a demonstration of an application, you will have to refuse.
Yeah.
Because there's a chance that he's gonna use that as a chance to sucker punch you.
Right. Or to humiliate you.
So
Yeah.
So for him, you don't even raise your hand to someone that you don't know of as a friend.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, that's good advice.
And you tell him, either we have a spar, or or we don't touch hands.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, after my teacher told me that, it happened a couple of times after, and I just did exactly what he said. And yeah, that went a lot better. So yeah. Anyway, that's how it is here. But okay, so you started training.
Yes,
your Yiquan teacher? What was his name?
Li Quanshan.
And who was his teacher? I mean, what's his line of Yiquan?
He was like the godson of Yao Chengrong.
Okay, all right. Are you still in contact with him?
No. Basically, I trained with him for like 6 months, I think, like every day. And then and it was Chinese New Year's, and after that, during Chinese New Year, he told me he's going to Hangzhou to check it out, and afterwards he just never came back.
Oh, he moved to Hangzhou.
Yes, yeah, he's still in Hangzhou. I mean, I know of people who knows him, but we haven't been in direct contact since back then.
But
usually back then, because
go ahead.
Yeah, because the phone number changed, and then there was no WeChat back then, so there was no way to get in contact.
Right.
And now it's kind of weird because it's been like over 15 years or something.
Yeah, it's been like 17 years. So yeah.
Yeah, so kind of weird. But I do know that he's still teaching in Hangzhou.
And you carried on practicing after your trip to Beijing? You carried on practicing Yiquan on your own?
Yes, I practiced. Yeah, I carried on practicing that for a couple of years.
Okay, so that was your main focus after that, huh?
Yes, because he was the most convincing master to beat me helplessly.
So what was your daily training like? I mean, in terms of what did you cover? What did you work on? How did you work on it?
So basically, it's 2 hours of stance training.
Yeah.
So initially I did Hunyuan Zhuang, which is the one where your legs are parallel.
Yeah.
And you hold out your arms.
Yeah, the basic, the most common standing exercise, primordial posture or primordial post standing. Yeah.
Yes, and then after 3 months, he told me to move to Ji Zhuang, which is the combat stance.
Right.
Where you have the 1 foot in front, 1 foot at the back.
Yeah.
And your front hand is slightly higher, the back hand is slightly lower.
Right.
So then I do that each side for 1 hour before it's just 2 hours on the whole stance.
Right. What
And then after that, yeah.
what did you feel from doing that long term for a long term? What did you feel developing just from that post standing?
I remember initially it was just a lot of pain. Like,
Yeah, that's how it usually is.
yeah, then I struggled to keep my arm up for 40 minutes.
Right.
But after a while, you kind of, I don't know if you're getting numb or getting used to it, but it goes away.
Mm.
And then, then you have like all the, what they call the Yiyan training, right? The visualization
Right.
of the body, like the elbow pulling apart, the back and the hand pushing against each other, hugging a tree,
Yeah.
like pulling open, all of that stuff.
Intent training. So yeah, different intents.
Yeah,
intentions.
intent for training.
Yeah.
And then after that, then I would do 试力, right? The testing of force.
Power testing. Yeah. Or force.
And he would tell me that those two going hand in hand. So basically, stance training, you kind of build the foundation, but you have to move to know what is missing.
Right.
Like, like when you stop moving, you realize which part of the body is not synchronized, not in unity, and then you fix that by going back to stance to put more attention to that part, and then you go back to testing and see if your body is unified.
Right.
And then later on, he told me how to punch, so I just do like 1,000 punches a day.
Mm-hmm.
Each is quite simple. Right? There's only like 3 main punch: the straight punch, the uppercut, and the downwards punch.
Right.
Yeah. So and then also eventually did like Mo Ca Bu, like one of the Yiquan's
friction stepping.
Step.
Yeah, friction
the
step.
friction step. Yeah. Yeah, and then we did push hands.
All right, but did you have somebody to do push hands with when you went back home?
Well, I tried to teach some of my father's students, but it wasn't really the same.
Yeah, of course.
Compared to I was training with him.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, when I'm training with him, I don't know, it's not really training. I just get pushed around.
You were his punching bag, kind of testing, experimenting.
Yes.
Partner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I get.
Yeah.
It.
So I mean, we also the sparring with him, which again is not really a learning curve. He'll just put on gloves and punch me.
Poor you.
But I think that's how he learned it, though. I think that's like the Yiquan way of learning it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm sure it was a lot harder than most people do it today, and it was like that. So, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, they don't really care about learning curve. It's like he doesn't slowly tell you, okay, doing this wrong, doing that right. It just like put on gloves and he starts punching me.
Yeah. Did he have any other students training at the same time as you?
No, I was only, he had a student sort of, who comes every now and then, but I was only paying student.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think that's why he moved to Hangzhou, because he couldn't really make a good living in Beijing.
Well, there's too much Yiquan here. I mean, this is the home of Yiquan.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's
yes.
hard.
And although they say he was like the best out of his generation, but the older generation are still all around.
Exactly. And they're still around.
Yeah.
They're still around now.
Yeah, they're still around, yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah. Actually, I think I told you the last time we saw each other that my Shiye, my teacher's teacher, and Yao Zongshun were actually very, very close. They were basically blood brothers.
Yes, you mentioned.
And that's why my Shiye had problems during the Cultural Revolution, was because of his relationship with Yao Zongshun, who a lot of people don't really know had problems too, so yeah.
Yes, yeah, I think he was actually incarcerated.
Yeah, he was 2 years or something. I don't remember exactly. Yeah, he was. So anyway, and what made you move on from that, and what did you move on to from that? Okay,
so I was training, and eventually I kind of hit a bottleneck. And without a teacher, you kind of can't break through.
Right.
I mean, I think nowadays, thanks to manga and anime, a lot of kids think you can, be a self-made master. You just kind of train in the mountain
Yeah,
by
you got to go to
yourself,
the
and eventually you
mountains.
become
Go to
super
the
good.
mountains and sit in a waterfall, and then you'll get there.
Yes, but yeah, but the truth is, if you don't have a qualified teacher to guide you, if you get stuck, you get stuck forever most of the time.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
And also, I didn't really like the Yichuan crowd per se. I mean, I'm not saying they are bad people, but I just didn't really like the vibe in the Yichuan community.
What did you feel?
They were very sluggish. At least, when I did Yichuan, they were very sluggish. Like they don't. It's like, in summer they walk around without shirts and stand like the thugs.
Do you know the other? You obviously know
And
the other name for Yichuan in Beijing, right?
yes, yes, yes. And I mean, yes, and that's the thing. They actually do look the part. And when you and I mean, and I've spot and exchange hand with a couple of Yichuan people, and it's impossible to have a friendly exchange.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah. It always gets
It's like
very heated.
you can say, yeah, you can say all the friendly stuff you want, but the moment it starts, they set on hurting you.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So although I highly respect the skill, I think they're one of the better, martial art groups in Beijing.
Yeah.
But I just don't really like hanging out with them.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I went to a couple of Yichuan gatherings because they'd call my teacher because of his relationship with Yao Zongxun, and he still had a relationship with the Yao brothers. And
Yes.
every time, it doesn't matter which event it was, somebody was going to have an argument with somebody at the... We could be having it could be Wang Shangjai's birthday, like, anniversary, and at lunch afterwards, somebody is going to start screaming at somebody. Every time. So, I mentioned earlier the other name for Yichuan. In Beijing, Yichuan was also called Liu Mang Quan, and Liu Mang is basically a
Yes.
thug or a hoodlum. So yeah, I mean it's
Yeah.
that kind of what you said about the vibe. It is like that, and I went 3 times to these Yichuan gatherings and with my teacher, and we didn't. I said to him the next time, I'm like, I don't really want to go, So anyway, yeah,
Yes. Yeah. So when people ask me, like, what's like, one of the styles in Beijing that are really good at fighting, I'll say Yichuan, but I'll tell them that they're not pleasant people. I mean, there are nice people there too, but the general atmosphere is not that nice.
totally.
So at least not for me. I mean, for someone else, they might really like the vibe, but not for me.
Well, it was always funny when they'd see me there, a lot of the Yichuan people, and they'd find out, oh, he's a Xingyi guy, and then I could see the way they're looking at me and what they're thinking, but because I'm not a small guy, so they generally didn't ever go any further than that, but I could see what they were thinking and what they were feeling. But anyway, yeah, that's just how it is.
Yeah, I think it was 2014 when I went back to Beijing. A friend introduced me to meet with another Yichuan master who isn't actually he was actually quite young. He was maybe like 5 or 6 years older than me.
Right.
So that friend of mine, which is a female, a female lawyer, she and him, they kind of are friends, right? So he will call her like sister.
Right.
So they seem to be pretty close. And then she and I, we are friends since like 2003,
All right.
long time friend. So she used to call me little brother.
Okay.
Okay, so she took me there to meet with him. We ate lunch together, went to his apartment, and then I was like, I want to experience your ability.
Right.
And I thought after all of that, it must be friendly, right?
Right.
Especially he is a master. And then 10 seconds into the spa, he hit me in the ribs, which left me in pain for a month.
He probably fractured a rib. Yeah.
No, I went to check. Like there was not. Well, the doctor couldn't see anything, but it was just really painful for a month.
Right. Yeah, it's excessive.
So that's the kind of thing. Yeah, that's the kind of thing you have to accept when you deal with Yichuan people. They don't hold back. which I can understand. You know, normally you don't want to hold back because you don't want to lose face and disgrace your master. But the thing is, you know, I was introduced by my close friend who is his sort of close friend.
Yeah.
But even that didn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, that's strange. Yeah, you'd think it would make a difference, but yeah, that's just how they are.
Yeah. So that time I thought it's different. You know, before a while I don't want to like just exchange with each and people without a cause. But that time I was still going to be different because of the relationship. But you know, that didn't matter either.
Right.
Anyway, so when I hit like a bottleneck, I didn't really want to go back to the Yichuan crowd. Not saying they're not good, but I just didn't want to be in that type of vibe.
Right.
And at the time, I was also doing college in South Africa, so I couldn't go back to China immediately. So I tried some other stuff like 铁砂掌 and things, but it didn't really work to my desire.
Iron palm training.
So, iron palm training.
What were you doing exactly?
I was following the Shao Bei method, where you have like the iron filings stuff in a bag, and then you hit it with 5 different ways, and then you cook your hand in medicine.
Right.
I was shipping Chinese herbal medicine from China, cooked them myself and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, the thing is, it didn't have the effect that it says in the manuscript.
What did it tell you the effect would be?
I was so young.
What did you think the effect would be?
Look, in the manuscript, it says that you can slap somebody's arm and fracture their bones.
No, I think the key point is that you don't fracture your own bones. That's the key point.
Yeah. So you know, later when I understand a bit more on physics and stuff. I mean, I did physics in school, but I wasn't really interested in it. But later when I start examining things, then you know that if you fracture somebody's bones while he's punching you, it's luck.
Yeah.
You can't like, because the arm is not stationed on another object. It's not the same as you slapping a brick
right
on the floor.
Right.
Especially when these people now that they do it with a brick, elevator, on the side, which is actually the
easy way,
the leverage that breaks a brick more than the power itself.
Right.
Anyway, so I was kind of disappointed that it didn't have the same effect as it says in the script. And also when I first started to realize that you can't trust everything the scripture said.
Right.
A lot of it is over exaggerated.
You became a kung fu atheist. Basically.
So yes. So 2008, I basically then went back to China again, to Beijing, and I wanted to look for a really high-level internal master so that I can get over my bottleneck internal style. Because you know what, the 铁砂掌 iron palm are basically going back to external. I was kind of putting my Yichuan internal stuff on hold and trying the external side of things again.
Right.
But 2008, I decided to go back to internal. So I went back to Beijing and I started looking around and asking around, who's like high level. So eventually, I first came across a very old Bagua master, Tian Fang.
Okay.
Who passed away now.
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah, I visited him when he was like 97. So he was really old. And I had to go through a friend of mine who happened to know someone in the Bagua Association to introduce and take us. It was quite a mission.
Do you know what kind of Bagua he did?
I think it's Cheng style.
Yeah,
the thing is, I think it's Cheng style because it was kind of difficult to talk to him at the time already. He had hearing problem.
Yeah.
We had to shout 3 times for him to understand what we're saying. And he, and among the things that he showed me, there was one thing where he was sitting on his armchair, and he asked me to pull him up. And he was really skinny, he was 97. One of his eyes were blind. So I was like, okay, this guy's really old. So I tried with a light force, and he didn't move. And I was like, okay. So I started pulling him with as much force as I had, and he still didn't move. And he was sitting on a chair. So that's when I realized, maybe there's something more that I don't understand. Yeah. Like some, like a completely different layer of understanding.
Yeah. Are you sure it
But,
wasn't?
so I
It
wanted
wasn't
to
that
learn.
they tied him to the chair because he kept on falling out, and he just didn't tell you that.
No.
97. That's something
Yeah,
they
but
do.
so I wanted to learn from him,
Hmm.
but he was like, well, his caretaker said no, he's too old.
Yeah, I can imagine at that age, it's probably not good for him to even start trying to teach somebody.
Yes, and then later I realized, he doesn't really have a teaching method.
Hmm.
Basically, the way he explained it to me at the time is that he was doing the 64 hand when he was younger.
Hmm.
Around 60, he thought that 64 hands too much. He did like the 8 hands.
Okay.
And then after a while, he saw the 8 hands too much. He did the 3 hand. And eventually, when he was like 80 or something, he just did circle walking. He said everything else is useless. Circle walking is all that's important.
Right.
And according to him, that's how he got the understanding he has then when I met him.
But you know what's interesting about this reducing, which is natural actually, reducing from more to
Yes.
less, from complicated to simple, is at the point that they realize that all of that other stuff is not necessary, they wouldn't understand that without going through all of that stuff through the process. It's very
Yes.
hard if you just tell somebody everything else, and he's never done anything. Everything else is useless. Just walk the normal circle or
Yeah. Yes,
Shachenjiang or something.
exactly.
They'll
Yes.
probably never get anywhere. So they have to come to enlightenment themselves, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And also because he can't explain how he got to where he is.
Exactly. I
It just happened to him.
Yeah, for me, that's one of the things I think that Wang Shangjai actually realized. But why it's so hard for people to get to that realization in Yichuan is because,
Yes.
he went through Xing Yichuan and then he got to the realization that
Yes.
he did. And a lot of people are trying to just pick up from there without having a background in anything. So look, I mean, I know from my own personal training, the system my teacher taught me is big. There's a lot of content. But as time has gone down, there's only a few key points that are really relevant to me. But I have to have gone through all of that to get to this point,
Mm.
So, it's I think that's quite. I mean, what the old man was saying is right, but you got to go through that,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
but yes, but I don't think anyone can go through his later understanding and get to where he was
Right,
at.
you got to go through everything from the beginning, and you still might not get there.
Yeah, because at the time I didn't know, but later on I saw a footage of him in his earlier days teaching his students.
Right.
And he literally just tells them to walk in a circle, don't think about anything, don't worry about anything, you just walk.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't think a lot of people, I don't think majority of people that train under him is gonna ever get anywhere like that.
Well, you know that saying about from yi to no yi, yi dao wu yi, right? From
Uh-huh.
movement to no movement, from intention to no intention. And then you look at these styles
Yes.
that like Yi Chuan that will say no intention is real intention, no movement is real movement.
Yes,
So you got to go
yes,
through it. You can't just say okay, just don't worry about any.
yes.
In fact, you don't even need to train. Just sit there. It's all done. It's not going to happen. It's like
Yeah, so in retrospect, I was glad I didn't try under him. Not that he's not good, but yeah, I don't think it really works like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, so after that, I started looking around and trying to find something else. I was looking into like, Zhu Chunxuan from the Wang lineage Tai Chi.
Okay.
But I couldn't find anyone to introduce because, they're pretty big on the introduction thing. You can't just walk up to them and demand to,
Learn.
to, to learn or to experience what they do.
Yeah.
They're kind of, yeah, they're not very so sociable like that. So eventually I went online. Back then there was a wushuweb.com, one of the was quite big Chinese martial art forum at the time. I think it's closed down now.
Chinese language,
So I
right?
made a post. Yeah, Chinese language. Yeah.
Mm.
So I made a post saying, if I'm in Beijing, I want to do Tai Chi.
Mm.
Who should I go to?
Right.
there was a bunch of very stupid comments. As you always find on the internet, like people saying, oh, the Taoist priests are the best. Go to Wudang Mountain
Oh,
and
Jesus.
all of that stuff. Yeah, but eventually someone privately messaged me and say that he would go to, if he was in Beijing, he would go to Purple Bamboo Park and find either 大张 or 小张.
Zizhu right? The Purple Bamboo Park.
蜘蛛院, yes.
That's where my
Park,
training
yeah.
started too. My teacher was teaching there. Yeah, it's a great park.
Yes, I think I've actually walked past your teacher before.
Okay. Well, he stopped teaching there after
I
some time, and because it was just more convenient to train at his home. But he used to be there for many years.
I'm pretty sure I walked past them, but that's before I knew he was your teacher.
Right.
Because I was going there for 3 months in 2008.
Okay. Yeah.
And I get off the Guotu station, so I walked all the way to Zizhu.
From National Library.
I remember seeing Xingyi people.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing Xingyi people in the parking lot of a restaurant, I think.
That's it. That's where we used to train. We used to train in the park before, but then there's too many people in the park. So next to the park, there was a restaurant, and in the parking lot, we'd be there before the restaurant opened, and they never had a problem. And then the restaurant got demolished too. Yeah, the restaurant's gone too.
Yes.
So then we just just go to his home. It's easiest. So yeah. So yeah, you went to Purple Bamboo.
Yeah. So basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went to Purple Bamboo Park, and so I went at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and specifically go to a place called Baiyixuan. It's like a pavilion. Kind of place. And there was like a lot of people there, like doing all kind of stuff, playing cards, drinking tea, doing all kind of weird stuff.
Was it summer?
So I still understand. Yes, it was. It was in August. June, July to August. So it was summer or autumn.
I love those parks in summer. It's just so full of life.
It's really. I hate the weather in Beijing though. In summer, it's so hot.
You get used to it. You never. No, that's a lie. You never get used to it. But you learn not to let it bug you. You learn not to let it bug you.
Yeah.
You're gonna sweat. You're gonna be totally wet all the time. You're gonna feel terrible.
Yes, it's really annoying.
Yeah. So you just don't give a shit anymore. Just don't pay attention to how you look, because your shirt is gonna be completely wet, and that's that. Really, just accept it. Yeah.
Yeah, you start sweating the moment you leave your apartment.
Exactly.
The moment you leave your aircon, you start sweating.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so I went at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and there was a lot of people. So I look around, and I saw this one person who looked like he's probably, he has the look of someone who's not a shallow person, shall I say.
Right.
Who has more to himself. I don't know how to expand it.
Yeah, he's deep.
So I walk up to him. Yes, I walk up to him and I say, are you 大张 or 小张?
Mm-hmm.
And then he looked at me funny and he's like, why would you want to know? So I told him the whole story of, I'm coming from South Africa. I want to learn internal martial arts, and I went down to the forum and someone told me to come here to look for either one of the two.
Mm.
And then he's like, so he chatted with me briefly, and then he said, okay, you know what? Come tomorrow and you can stand over there, and then, we'll see if you can stand.
Mm.
So the next morning I went there at 8 o'clock again, and then, he wasn't there.
Oh.
So I just found a corner, and I just stood there. And then I think around 9:30 or 10 o'clock, he came behind me and he said, you're doing the stance wrong.
What were you doing?
And then
what were you doing? 混元桩?
No, 无极桩.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he told me like the basics on how to do it. The Tai Chi, what's it called? The 10 principles, 10要.
Yeah.
So he explained it to me and he said, okay, you can carry on doing stance. So only then I realized it was actually a test.
Okay.
Yeah, because another person who came a few days later, he stood for half an hour and he went to sit down, and then and then my master chased him away.
Oh, yeah. And you probably never understood
So
why.
that's how yeah. So that's how I met my Tai Chi master, 2008, and I basically trained with him ever since, up until now.
What was the Tai Chi that he was teaching you?
Okay, basically he would just say, Tai Chi is Tai Chi,
Right.
but he doesn't like to put something before it. But obviously, after knowing the history and everything, basically his master is Shimin,
Right.
who basically learned from Zhu Huaiyuan.
Okay.
So essentially we are part of Wang Mai, right? The Wang Yongquan Tai Chi branch.
Right.
But because Shimin, my grandmaster, and Zhu Huaiyuan had a fallout, so he was sort of expelled from the Wang lineage.
Okay.
So then he started his own thing, which he at the time called Ruyi Tai Chi.
Confucian Tai Chi.
No, Ruyi.
Oh.
Ruyi as in to your will.
Oh, right. Okay. Right.
Yeah, so he started doing that. But but currently I don't think anyone really use that name anymore. Because we just felt, I mean, not me, right? My master and also, people of his generation just felt that there was really no reason to create another style.
Yeah. I would agree, though.
So a lot of them now just refer to our lineage as Wang Mai Shimen.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so we're still part of the Wang lineage, but it's under Shimin's
Line.
system because,
Right.
yeah, line because of the fallout, I mean,
Okay.
we can't really put ourselves back to Wang Mai, when they don't want us.
Exactly. But you also can't deny that the Tai Chi
But,
comes from there.
yes, because majority of the stuff we do are pretty identical to what they do.
Okay. Are there a lot of their practitioners?
Yeah.
In Beijing?
There's quite a bit. I mean, I don't really socialize with them, so I don't know exactly how much. But there's quite a few.
Okay.
In the Pearl Bamboo Park, there's about 4 other teachers who are same generation as my master, and they each have a bunch of students.
Okay. And they're always around that pavilion area, if I remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because I think it's nostalgic.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So what is?
Yeah, so that's how I then went back to internal.
And okay, and what did you find there, and what drew you to it? I mean, coming from Yiquan, what were your experiences?
I used to do things 2/10. That's like the biggest revelation at the time.
In 2010?
Because was 2008.
Oh, okay.
When I first started training. Yeah, because obviously I'm not saying all Yiquan guys are 10s, but the way I was taught at the time, because my teacher would when you do push hand and stuff, he used all his structure. So I was always forced to try to hold my ground with all my strength.
Without collapsing, because his structure would collapse you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and as a result, I've always thought that you got to be really tense.
Right.
And you keep a structure, but you're very tense about it. But that kind of makes you slower and harder to change when you are committed. So when I was doing Tai Chi, I started to be able to loosen up more, to learn that you can actually hold structure without being tense.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, some muscles are always used. I mean, unlike some people who claim that no muscle is used, there's some muscle used, but you try to not.
Yeah. Otherwise, you'd fall down onto the floor into a ball of nothingness.
Yes. But you try to relax the muscle that you don't have to use.
Right.
And try to put the strain on the skeletal frame rather than purely on the tense muscles. Yeah, so that's probably one of the biggest revelation I got. And also I was having struggle to connect the lower body to the upper body
Mm-hmm.
because it was one thing that my teacher didn't explain to me, and I'm not sure if Yao Chengrong Lao Shi explained to him.
Oh,
I mean, when I see the Yao brothers doing their stuff, you can definitely see the upper body and lower body are connected. But like how you connect them, I don't think they actively teach it to people.
oh, I see.
Because in a lot of the students, I see that part is missing. The upper and lower body are not connected. Like they move in sync, right?
Right.
They are the motion itself is in synchronization. But now I can see that there's like a breakpoint by the
So
waist.
the structural
So there's
integrity
a
is
lot of
broken. So yeah, there's this is what people don't
yes,
understand about, like a lot of people don't understand about Liu He. You're talking about two aspects. Well, one is timing and coordination connecting, so timing connected, and
yes,
the other is structural connection. So yeah, and some people have one or the other, but you need both. So that's ideal.
yes. And obviously a lot, I don't know, even when I was training, you kind of fall under the illusion that if you feel your legs are pushing, then it's connected.
Hmm.
But that's not always true.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's also one of that was actually one of the bottlenecks that I had when I was doing Yichen on my own. So
Right.
through Tai Chi, I finally realized how you have to position your waist so that the lower body and upper body could connect.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot of details that I didn't understand when I was doing Yichen.
What was the training
Either because I
mostly
was
like
young.
though with the Tai Chi? Was it a lot of standing? Was it a lot of forms? What is a lot of?
Yeah, yeah. So contrary to popular Tai Chi, my master doesn't teach form until way later. Basically, everyone who goes there, you do Wuji stance for at least 3 years.
Okay, similar to the old way of
And
of of teaching even Xingyi.
yes, and often for the first month, he doesn't even tell you much about the stance itself. You just stand there.
Okay.
So I think it's more of a taste of patience. He doesn't want to waste time on people who don't have the patience.
Right.
Because I think a lot of people in the past, I think when he first started teaching, he was more eager and enthusiastic.
Hmm.
But then after 1 or 2 years, people will leave, and then eventually he feels it's a waste of his time.
Yeah, because he's put
You
all
know,
that
to
effort into them. Right.
Yes, and then the guy just leaves. So later on, he just like say, stand there, and he will like tell you very minimal for the first month.
Hmm.
Like when I first there, every day I was sort of in a self doubt, like what am I doing?
Oh, I see.
Because you're actually not sure what I'm doing. I was just standing there following his instruction, but the path is not clear.
Right.
Yes, but only when he sort of trusts me, then he started expanding more. Or maybe it requires a month to do whatever need to be done. I'm not sure.
Hmm.
But only after that, he started telling me the details on how to position your hips, how to position your waist, how to deal with your spine, where your head need to be.
Hmm.
And then later on, where you put your intention, what kind of mindset.
Okay.
So I would say maybe only, and obviously I only stayed there for 3 months, and I went back to South Africa, and I go back there again. It wasn't a constant, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
years
Yeah.
of studying.
But you were
So
training.
it took
You were
me like
diligently training. I mean, I know you, so you were diligently training on your own every
yes,
day anyway.
yes,
So
yes, but it's even more confusing when you're not there.
right, I know, I get it because you have questions and you can't easily ask them and get answers. So especially when you're
And
on
yeah,
your
mainly
own.
because I don't really know. It's because mainly I don't really know what I'm training, like what the stunt's supposed to do. I don't really understand at the time. It took me about 3 years before I finally understood what we're actually trying to do.
Well, maybe that's why he makes people stand for so long because it's self-discovery also. So yeah,
Yes, yeah, but I mean, it's like a 50-50. Either you discover it or you
or you
don't,
give up.
kind of thing. Yes, or you give up.
Yeah, but maybe that's it. Maybe it's
So
not.
like,
I'm.
yeah,
I really. I love Chinese martial arts. I love martial arts. I think I think everybody should have the opportunity to do martial arts. But the truth of it is, the story that martial arts is for everyone and anyone can do martial arts is a lie, you know? Not everyone can.
Yes, it is.
It's not easy,
Well,
and
I
not
think
everyone is suitable to do
yes,
it.
it's not easy.
Yeah, so...
Well, I think it depends on what you want to do. If you just want to be a hobby and feel good about it, then everyone can do it. But if you want to be good at it, it's very hard.
But I mean, let's be honest. I mean, martial arts originated not for somebody to be a hobbyist to feel good about it. That's not what it was intended for in the beginning. So, you know, when I say people do martial arts, I mean they do martial arts, you know. I can also, I don't know, pretend to cook food without actually cooking food and say, but it makes me feel good. But that's not what the pots and pans are for, you know? So I could sit there and play with an empty pot and pretend to be cooking something. And maybe it gives me some emotional and mental benefit and I have fun, but it's not cooking, you know? So, yeah. Anyway.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so since 2008, I basically just, I stopped doing everything else that I used to do. I mean, you know, I used to like know 10 Mantis forms and stuff, and I eventually just all kind of got to the back of my head.
Right.
I just did stance training, Wu Xing stance every day for like, it's 2 hours a session.
Right.
And when I have time, I do it twice. So it's like 4 hours a day. And when I'm in Beijing, I do it for like 3 sessions, so 6 hours a day.
I remember
that.
that.
To do that anyway.
I remember that. I remember when I saw, well, look, I mean, I've been here, but when you came here, I remember that was your schedule was pretty serious with that every day. And the 1 or 2 times I went back to see my brother in South Africa and I saw you, you were still keeping it up. That was your schedule every day. So yeah, I remember that.
Yes. So I pretty much stopped doing everything else and just did that for a couple of years. And until 2016, I was like, you know, I went back to Beijing again on my annual trip to train with my Tai Chi master. And one day we're also in the bamboo park, Pearl Bamboo Park. One of my Tai Chi brothers told me that, hey, you know, one of his friends who owns a tea house in the Purple Bamboo Park, she invited a Wudang master from the Wudang Mountain. And he was telling me, you want to go check it out? I said, yeah, sure. You know, let's go check it out. So it's in the park, right? So we just walk 5 minutes and then we got to the tea house. Yeah. And then we sat down because the owner and my Tai Chi brother, they knew each other for a very long time. I think they even used to date at some point.
Okay.
But like history. Yeah, so we sat down, we had tea, and then that Wudang guy came out. You know, so he's kind of young. And then he also sat down with us, and then, because I'm not a very sociable person, so I just kept quiet.
Right.
And then she was chatting, and then the girl introduced her, you know, that's like, you know, they both do Tai Chi and stuff like that. And then the Wudang guy was like asking, oh, you guys do Tai Chi? So I was talking to my Tai Chi brother and saying like, what do you do? And my Tai Chi brother, he's like a musician.
Okay.
Also not a very socially smart guy, I would say. And he's kind of, you know, honest. He just said, you know, we just stand there, you know, and do nothing for a few hours.
Right.
And then the Wudang guy, I think he got the wrong idea. So he started saying, you know, so you guys don't do this and that. You know, in Wudang we have this training at this hour, have like this form and this and that. So he started bragging. And so I got offended, you know.
Yeah.
You see, the thing is, right, most of my Tai Chi brothers, they are not martial artists.
Okay.
And I think half of them are actually musicians. The other half, like, are artists.
Okay.
So for them, Tai Chi is like a realization thing. They train it because they think they can be closer to themselves and, you know, closer to enlightenment.
Right.
Right. They're seeking something else completely. There's only about 3 of us who actually have martial art background.
Okay.
So he wasn't actually offended. He didn't even understand this whole martial art world kind of rules and mannerism.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he wasn't offended at all, and I was offended. So I said, wow, you know, you guys do so much. Do you also do push hand?
Yeah.
And then he's like, yeah. I said, well, you know, let's push, right? I want to see how you guys do push hand.
Right.
And the guy started saying, and I said, okay, if you guys don't do push-up, you can also do sparring if that's what you guys do. Push-up or sparring, you can choose.
Right.
So the guy just got up and he walked back into the tea house. But I think he was, like the inner room,
Uh-huh.
and he didn't want to come out.
Yeah. Okay, he understood.
So the owner, she felt a bit humiliated because she invited this guy from the Wudang Mountain.
Mm.
So she went inside and made a phone call and then came out and said, you know what, do you guys want to meet somebody interesting? I knew what she was up to,
Yeah.
but I thought, it doesn't matter. Let's go. So we drove from Zizhuyuan all the way to Qinglongqiao, which is behind Yiheyuan,
Okay.
quite far north.
Yeah.
And then we parked under a building, and then she made a phone call, and this
So you went all the way to,
person
okay,
is
so before, because I keep forgetting the listeners don't speak Chinese. Yiheyuan is the summer palace. Okay, yeah.
the Summer Palace, yeah. So it's quite a far drive.
Yeah.
Went all the way there, and then a gentleman in the late 40s came down, very friendly looking person. And then then we got, because it's already dinner time, so the Chinese cousin, you got to eat the dinner first.
Right.
So he got in my Taiji brother's car, and then we drove to a place that he wanted to eat. We got over, we ate like hot pot, I think. And then during the hot pot table, I mean, I obviously knew this girl called him to teach me a lesson because she felt humiliated.
Okay.
But I was up for it, so I didn't mind.
Right.
So we sat at the table, and then we started talking, and I knew beforehand that this person does Tong Bei.
Okay.
And at the time, I didn't think much of Tombe because I did Tombe when I was small with my father, Bayan Tombe.
Yeah.
And then later on, I also trained under another master from New Jie called Zhang Ximin. I think he's actually recently well known in Europe. He got like training camps there and stuff.
Okay.
So I was confident that I know enough of Tombe.
So you know what's coming.
And yes, I don't really think Tombe is that great.
Okay.
So we sat down and then we start chatting. And I know he did Tombe, so when he asked me what I do, I say, well, I used to do Bayan Tombe under my father. Then I trained Tombe under Zhang Ximin. And when I say that, he laughed and he's like, I know Ximin quite well. And I said, so how did that? I mean, so I asked him like, how he knew him. And he asked me like, do you know he joined Wu Xing Tombe, which is something I heard a couple of years ago from who's his name again? Hong, the Chuojiao master, Hong Zhiqian.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think so.
I heard from him that Zhang Xinbin converted from Baiyuan to Wu Xing Tombe.
So Baiyuan, for the listeners, is white ape, and Wu Xing is 5 element.
Yes.
There are 2 different styles of Tombe.
5 element.
Yeah.
Of Tombe, yes. So I knew that happened. So I said, yeah, I did hear about that. I don't know why he switched though, because Zhang Xinbin was considered one of the top hands in Bayan Tombe.
Right.
So he was quite up there in reputation and generation and fame, all of that. So it was quite weird for me, at the time to hear that he switched to Wu Xing Tombe.
Did he get?
He was in his 50s.
Did he get beat up?
And that's the thing I didn't know about when I first heard the rumor. I was like, he was quite established, right? Why did he switch over?
Right.
So on the dinner table, he told me, he asked me, do I know? I said, yeah, I heard about it, but I don't know why. He said, it's because we had a spar and he lost. and obviously at the time I realized that, it wouldn't be a very, like, easy loss. I mean, it wouldn't be a very small loss or a very close one. It had to be quite a massive loss.
Yeah.
Years for him to actually decide to do another lineage of Tombe completely.
Right.
So that's, I realized I need to reevaluate this person in front of me, right? It's not like a pushover, like a lot of other Tombe guys. My old assumption to Tombe, well, at least, from my experience, is that they have very fast hands.
Yeah.
But they don't hurt that much.
Yeah.
They lack the ability to seriously hurt you with one strike.
Okay.
So that why, after doing Yi Quan, I was more confident of just rushing in, get an opportunity, do a Zai Quan, and drop the person.
Right.
And obviously, the reason I later on did a bit of Bai and Tombe with Zhang Xinbin was because he, focused a lot on power generation, structure, and all of that, which I thought was good. But then later on, I discovered that he actually took that from Yi Quan. It's not authentic Bai and Tombe.
Oh, I see.
Yes, he doesn't talk about this. I actually asked him back in, I think this was 2004. I asked him, I said, oh, Zhang Laoshi, what you show me is similar to Yi Quan. And he's like, no, this is Bai and Tombe. But later I heard from others that he actually learned Yi Quan from an old Yi Quan master. I think it's called Li什么语.
No, I don't know.
I can't remember his name. So he actually has like a Yi Quan teacher at some point. Maybe not official, but he definitely learns Yi Quan stuff.
Okay.
Yes. Anyway, so on the dining table, after I heard that, I realized this man is,
no joke.
It's not just like the regular Tombe guy where the slap don't hurt and he just like tanked and find opportunity to hit him really hard. So, and then after we ate, we went back to his apartment, and then obviously at that time I already realized I probably can't beat him, but since we're here, I might as well
try.
Check out what he can do. He can do.
Right.
I like to experience things. I want to see what people are capable of.
Yeah.
And I'm always curious on on the limits of Chinese martial art.
Right.
Like,
right.
what is possible and what is not possible. What are boasts and lies and what are actually achievable.
Right.
So it was a relatively small space, in his apartment. And so we got up. I made a move, and he did a P, which is like a forearm chop onto my forearm. It was really fast. So I couldn't get out of the way. Basically, I did a punch and he peed on my arm.
Well, that sounds terrible in English.
At that, yeah.
No, I know what you're saying. He did a chop. He did a chop on your arm as you punched.
He did a chop, yes. Yes, as I punched. And at that moment, I feel my entire arm numb over to my neck.
Okay.
And my head jerked forward uncontrollably. And his other hand basically placed on my face. Didn't hit me, but he placed on my face.
Yeah, he's telling you he would have hit you.
Yes, and my arm was numb for like 5 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yes, and I was really surprised.
Okay.
I was like, wow. I didn't expect Tombe to have powers like that.
Right.
So obviously I said, well, you're so much higher level than me. So I admit that I lost, which is fine.
Who was there, by the way?
Continued,
did that girl come with? Did that girl go with?
Yes. She came with my Taijiquan brother.
But the Wudang guy didn't come with.
No, he didn't come with. No. Initially, he wanted to try with my Taiji brother because he was Shixiong when they introduced us.
Right.
But obviously, he's a musician, not a martial artist.
Right.
So I told you, no, he doesn't actually. He doesn't do this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. And after that, then he proceeded on showing me a couple other things. And at that moment, I just felt that he has the same type of power as my Yi Quan teacher.
Yeah.
Like when he touches me, my structure breaks. And at that time, I was fairly confident on my structure because majority of the other people that I meet outside, their structure is not as good.
Right.
But every time he touches me, my structure breaks. And the difference is he doesn't have a structure of his own.
Oh, okay.
So his attack is more of a surprise than my Yi Quan teacher.
Interesting.
Like Yi Quan lineage, right? When we start sparring or fighting, we hold out the arms in front, almost like the stance.
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah.
So in a sense, you ward off stuff, and also you try to you try to establish contact on the other guy's forearm.
Yeah, exactly.
And you use that to break the structure.
Right.
But when he was facing me, his two arms were next to his legs.
Oh, really? He just had his arms down.
So so I had nothing to work on, which was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, what I'm used to is people holding out their arms, and I can gonna try to go in and use those arms as a pivot point.
Right.
But he had nothing for me to work on. Only thing I can do is punch him. And when I did that, you know, he was waiting for me.
Yeah, that was his plan.
Yes. So we basically chatted at his place till like 1 o'clock in the morning. And then we went back. And for the next few weeks, I was basically thinking on how to deal with this type of approach to combat. You know, because I know that I can't collide hard with his arm. Every time that happens, my arm goes very numb. It also flies out of the way.
Right.
And also I have nothing to pivot on, nothing to control his arm with. He can never hold up a fighting stance.
Right.
So after like a month, I really have no idea how to deal with that. So I contacted him again. I basically asked my Taiji brother to ask his friend for this master's WeChat account. And so I got contact with him. I said, can I come and visit you again? I don't know, maybe he think I was going to have a rematch. But yeah, so I don't know what he was thinking. But yeah, but I went again. I was like, you know, I want to learn Tombe from you because after seeing that, it made me realize that, you know, the Tombe I've done in the past are not the same.
Right.
Are completely not the same. And I need to redo this from scratch.
So you start training with him?
Yeah, and curiously enough, I started training with him since 2016.
Okay, and you stopped your Tai Chi then?
And no, I still do Tai Chi.
Oh, all right.
So, but basically, I'm just doing these two styles now, Tai Chi and Wu Xing Tombe, and I stopped doing everything else.
Do you find them to be complementary?
And one of the reasons I made, yes, that's one of the reasons why I decided to do this is because this lineage of Wu Xing Tombe came from great grandmaster Zhang Ce.
Okay.
Who actually spent 10 years in a Yang family when he was younger.
Oh, interesting. So there's a connection.
So yeah, so actually he learned Qijia Tombe would be, you know, originally. You know, Qijia has like the old and the young.
Yeah.
So Zhang Ce's master was Chen Qing, who was one of the head of the old Qijia Tombe. And then he learned from his elder brother, which is I think Li Shima Chun. Can't remember his name.
What character Qi is that?
It's a surname.
Oh, the surname Qi. Okay.
Qi. Yeah, Qijia Tombe. That's actually the oldest form of Tombe that we can trace. So he learned the old Qi, and then he spent 10 years in the Yang family under Yang Banhou and Yang Jianhou, according to what I heard.
Okay.
And then when he came out, he called his Tombe Wu Xing Tombe. And one of the theories behind that is because he didn't want to compete with the Yang family.
Oh, I see.
He didn't want to call it Tai Chi Tombe because, you know, at the time only Yang family was making a living teaching Tai Chi.
Yeah.
You know, even the Wu family who learned from them weren't openly teaching, so they were leaving all the market for Yang family.
I see.
So one of the stories that Zhang Ce don't want to impede on that either, so he called it Wu Xing Tombe. But what was in the lineage itself, people also refer to it as Tai Chi Tombe.
Interesting.
So unlike conventional Tombe, which I'm sure you've seen, you know, when they do punches and hit the head toes forward, their body hunches.
Yeah.
So it's typical external thing. But in my lineage of Wu Xing Tombe, you know, your head can't tilt forward, you can't hunch.
Okay.
Your body have to be 中正 安舒.
Right.
You know, like upright.
Upright and centered.
It basically have the, yes, it has the exact same principle from Yang style Tai Chi.
Yeah.
So although you had the same hand, like T, Shuai, Tai, Chuan, Pi, Zuan, it had the same hand as every other Tombe. But the body posture, the mechanics are very different. Zhongquan, the mid punch in particular is like a very obvious one. Most of the Tombe lineages, when they do the mid punch, the body lean forward for extra reach. But in my lineage, that is like a big no-no. Your body is upright. You get the reach from extending the shoulder blade.
Okay.
But you can never extend your torso forward.
Leaning, don't lean.
And my master will always tell me like 低头猫腰，提议不高。
Oh.
It's like a common saying in my lineage.
Would you explain what it means for the listeners?
It basically means if you head towards forward and you hunch your spine, then you're not good.
Right. Yeah.
But obviously, this only applies to internal styles. I think it's not fair to use this and judge every other martial art style.
Well, of course. I mean, they make it work within their principles for themselves. So other people could do it differently and make it work too. So yeah.
Yes, I think that's one of the common problems in Chinese martial art, that everyone tries to use their own principle to judge everybody on.
Well, the way to judge it is if it works. So if you can make it work,
yes,
that's the only way to test that is not by looking at it, is by feeling it and trying out with somebody. So
yes.
Yeah.
So I would say that in my lineage of Tombe, then this is one of the key requirements. If in this lineage your head leans, your body leans, then you're gonna get a slap from the teacher.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's one of the other main reasons. One is I can't find a way to beat him, and I was quite amazed at how he can make my arm go numb so easily.
Yeah.
Because I've met people who have conditioned arms. Like for example, I've met a master from Takshan Bagua. I think his name was Zhou Qiang, one of the older generation of master. And they have pretty hard conditioning on the arm, like they hit beanbags every day. And and then when he hit my arm, it was sore, and like the next day there's going to be like a small bruise. But I can feel that if I just grind my teeth, I can take that impact.
Right.
So if I really have a life and death altercation, that hit isn't gonna hinder my action.
Okay.
The next day I might have a massively sore, bruised arm, but at the moment it's just pain, and pain I can endure through.
Right.
But but every time when my Tong master hit my arm, it just numbs all the way up to my neck. So whether I wanna endure it or not, I lose function on my arm for a little while.
Okay.
And it breaks my structure. So
it leaves you open to
stopping his next hit.
Yeah, the next hit is coming through.
Yeah, especially because it jerks my head. So it messes up my judgment completely.
Right.
Just like how I feel when I used to train with my Yiquan teacher. Like he also, every time he does something to my arm, my head jerks and I can't see what he did next.
Right.
So that's the one reason. The other is because this is kind of related to Tai Chi. In fact, in the lineage, our oldest Tombe, my master's oldest Tombe brother, he actually knows the Tai Chi form from great grandmaster Zhang Ce.
Okay.
Yeah, so they actually have another lineage of the Yang style Tai Chi within our lineage.
Oh, that's very interesting.
That passed down from Zhang Ce rather than from the Yang family.
Yeah. Do you guys have, in this Wu Xing Tombe, do they have a pu, like a Chuan pu or some classics, writings, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they have. But
No, you go ahead. Tell me about it.
Okay, but the Chuan pu is basically the same as the Qi family Chuan pu.
All right.
Yeah, so basically my master compared it with the Qi family, and it's the same thing. So great grandmaster Zhang Ce, he didn't write his own classic.
Okay.
He just passed down the same classic he got from his master.
And he just taught his principles the way he wanted to teach them. So the key's in the teaching.
Yeah, well, look, you see, the thing is, my master would say that Qi Tombe originally was just like that too. But obviously, I have my doubts. because the Qi style Tombe you see today are not like that.
Right.
So while I respect my master, but I can't completely trust him on this topic.
Right.
But he tend to think that everyone used to do it this way, and then the Qi family now deviated.
Yeah, but we all think like that.
But
like
I
mean,
tend to,
even
yes.
everybody thinks that their way. Okay, everybody that's doing it differently, they've deviated, and they have their reasons to think that. But we will never be sure.
Yes, but I tend to think that Qi Tombe was like this, like we see today. It's just that great grandmaster Zhang Ce got the Tai Chi influence, so he actually deviated.
That makes sense, though. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yes, I think that makes more sense, but I don't actually tell my master about that.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I don't think he will agree. So I think they might have a Tai Chi classic too, but I've never seen it because my master didn't do Tai Chi.
Okay.
He was like he was a more hot-tempered when he was younger, so he didn't want to do the slow stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He just did Wu Xing Tombe.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think the head of our lineage now, right, the oldest Tombe uncle, he has the Tai Chi side of the text.
Oh.
But I've never seen it, so I don't actually know what's in it.
Okay. So you've been doing that since 2016. You've been coming back every year to train with him, right?
Yes. Yeah. So basically, I split my week. So Saturday and Sunday, I train with my Tai Chi master. Then 3 days out of the other between the week, depending on his schedule, I go to him.
Okay. And what have you learned? I mean, what is the curriculum like? What is the training progression like?
Yeah, here's another interesting thing, right? Basically, we have a basic practice, which we call shoulder rotation.
Mm-hmm.
And then it is required that we do this 2,000 times on each side.
A day?
Yes, a day. And the interesting thing is 2,000 times doing the correct speed. You can't do it too fast.
Uh-huh.
There's a specific speed that you have to do it at. It amounts to exactly 2 hours.
Yeah, it's quite a chunk of your day.
So it's just like the Tai Chi training, right? It's like the interesting is that they all require 2 hours. And while it is a motion, so to speak, the more I do it, the more it actually feels the same as a stance.
Oh, interesting.
It's just a stance that your arm is moving.
Well, we have that. I mean, I don't know if you remember in my teachers some of the stuff you saw me doing. He teaches us Zhanzhuang, and we have like Zhanzhuang methods that he was taught. But then he has like moving Zhanzhuang, which is Zhanzhuang with some small motions in it, and that's more important for us, And we also have to do that for it's about an hour a day at least, and that's on top of everything else. So just those so it's a similar kind of thing that it feels like
I actually
standing,
think that's
but
very
you're
important,
moving,
right? Because actually I think a lot of people misunderstand. I think standing is just standing and doing nothing, and I think if you do that your whole life, you're probably not going to get anywhere. Right. You actually have to get something out of the stance, and if you're just standing still and doing nothing, you're not really getting a whole lot.
Exactly. Yeah.
Even in our Wuji stance in Tai Chi, we have like minor motion, like rotating the hips.
Yes, exactly.
Rotating the spine.
Yeah.
It's like minor joint motion. You try to move the joint without moving the limbs.
Right.
And I think that's actually what makes the internal meaning of stance. It's not just doing a posture, without any details to go with it.
Yeah.
And the way my Tombe master explains it is that this is basically a way so that you force the principles into your body. You repeat the same motion 2 hours a day, so that eventually all these principles and qualities and mechanics are part of it.
Well, that's exactly how my teacher explains it. He just says we do it for a long period of time, and whether we call it Neigong or whatever, the point is that and he explains it very clearly. Why do we coordinate it with breathing? Because then you start to go into a subconscious state. Why do you keep doing it for such a long time over and over? Because you program your subconscious so it becomes natural. It becomes part of you, So it's a similar idea. You do it for you can't do that in a short period of time. Because to get your mind into that state, it takes a bit of time. And then you've just got to do it through that state that it starts to work on your subconscious in a different way to you actually physically thinking about doing a movement. So yeah, it's similar.
Yes, yeah, you have to basically form a habit.
Right. It becomes a natural habit.
So that is the thing I did. Yeah, so that's the short rotation what I basically did for the first year without doing anything else. And I did actually 3,000 because I thought, he said 2,000, I should do more.
Right.
So I did basically 1.5 hour on each side.
Okay.
And then the next year I went there, then he taught me Shuai Zhang, which is the first of the 5 hands.
Right.
And again, you're required to do 2,000 on each side.
Okay.
Basically, everything in this learning you do 2,000 times if you want to do it.
Right.
It's like either you don't do it or you do it to the right amount. So basically, every year I just learned one move.
Okay.
And then the third year I did Zhongquan, which is one of the hardest move in my lineage of Wu Xing Tombe.
Why is it hard?
And after
why do you
that,
say it's so hard though? I mean,
it's a very awkward punch to generate power with. And there's a lot of requirements that go with it. Like you punch have to connect the same moment your front foot touch the ground.
Okay.
And that in itself, I struggled for quite a long time because I'm used to stepping and then pushing from the foot to generate power.
Yeah, it's something that I mean, of course, Xingyi is that you step and land, you step, land,
Yes.
and strike it immediately the same instant. So I know, and I've tried to explain it to people that don't understand it. Rooting yourself and then striking is actually more natural and easier for people to do than to step and at that it's split instant that your weight lands on your front leg, you strike. It's more difficult.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I really struggled with that for quite a while. And that's when I realized a lot of people, they might be doing the motion simultaneously, but they're not connected.
Right.
Stepping and doing a punch at the same time on the surface is easy, but like to have that force from the foot stepping connected to the punch becomes so much harder.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know, I mean, I don't know if you've seen a lot of the way that, I mean, I don't mean to speak badly about any people or styles or whatever, but the direction that a lot of Xingyi and a lot of Song style people have gone is into excessive shaking. But at the they've done this at the expense of losing that timing with the front foot, because to get that exaggerated shake, they have to root both feet on the floor at the same time. So now the timing and the weight dropping goes away just so they can get the shake. And the shake is, I mean, half the time the way they're doing it, it's got no combat or practical power value. It's in fact counterproductive. They're pulling their arms back more than they're striking them out. So yeah, it's interesting to see, but it's something that seems to be more and more common today. And purely, I think it's because people haven't actually tested their power. Actually, I mean, that's the truth. So
yes, and I think also because students like to see the shape.
Yeah, so they think it should be done like that.
Yeah, like you attract more students if you shake.
Right, that's true.
In fact, I think to a lot of Western people who haven't really gone too deep into Chinese martial arts, they think shaking is basically fa
Yeah,
jing.
that's what they say. Oh, look, it's the real Fa Jing.
Yes, I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously, the correct way of shaking is part of Fa Jing,
Right.
but there are a lot of styles that don't shake and Fa Jing.
Exactly. And shaking is usually it's a natural way or a natural reaction. I mean, sorry, a natural consequence of an action. It's not a forced action,
Yes,
and that's what's happening now.
Yes, it can't be deliberate.
Right, it's not deliberate, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So that's interesting. So that was what? Now that's what you've been focusing on apart from your Tai Chi. And have you felt like you've developed?
Yeah, so basically,
I mean, how's it developing?
yes, actually, you see, so I felt like, so when I did Tai Chi, I mean, I was getting better in terms of understanding structure and all of that, but it was a more slower process. And the past year when I started doing Wu Xing Tombe, it sort of speeded up the overall process.
Okay, that's very good.
Yeah, Yeah, so it definitely for myself, it helped me a lot in the overall progress of understanding and training.
Well, that's great.
And luckily the two gels well together. I mean, there are styles that are both good, but might not gel well.
Well, that's great.
So it's good that, yeah, those two actually gels together.
So, you have I mean, you've been teaching for quite a while in South Africa. I know it's not your main line of
Yeah,
work, but you do teach. And have you started teaching Tombe at
yes.
all, or you're not teaching it?
Yes, I'm teaching to just one student at the moment
Okay.
because, the real stuff, at least, the way I was taught is very hard for normal people to accept. I mean, when my master told me, do the 1,000 times a day, I was like, okay, sure, I'll do it 3,000.
Yeah, most people
But
won't.
most people, they're not going to do
Yeah,
that.
they won't.
And there's not much else to teach in this lineage of Tong Bei. It's not like going to a supermarket and buying stuff,
Right.
like a lot of other styles tend to do. You have like 50 forms and another 20 weapon forms, and then you have two-man sets.
杂货
It's
店.
actually learning something. Yes, it's
杂货店.
not
It's like a
like that.
department store. And and that's how people
Yes,
treat
you
it
can buy
too. They're
stuff.
like, "Oh, cool, I'm going to come learn a new form to sell." Oh, Jesus.
Yes. Well, unfortunately, I think that's the only way to run a successful commercial school. The way my master teach is not very it's not commercial at all.
Right.
I've been with him for since 2016, and I only know like three moves.
Right.
And you have to be really serious to be willing to do that. Otherwise, it becomes really boring.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, so I have this one student who been with me for a very long time since like
So what
2003.
was he doing I mean, he's learned other stuff from you obviously too.
Yes, Yichuan before this.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's doing this, and yeah, and everyone else. I mean, I don't have that many students at the moment, but everyone else, I just teach them more interactive things like Wing Chun or whatever else.
Right.
Unfortunately, not everyone want to learn the deeper things.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You called your school's name is called Tri Essence, and why did you call it that?
Yes.
Why this name?
Oh, because I think there are three important principles when it comes to any martial arts. I mean, so the first one is more like a basic requirement that you need to have speed.
Okay.
If you don't have speed, you don't have anything, right? It's almost like, if martial art or fighting is a dialogue or an argument, speed is the right to talk.
Okay, yeah.
If you are slow, you don't even have the right to speak.
Right.
So I don't think speed is very special. A lot of people have it, right? It's not hard to get speed, but it is a requirement.
Okay.
Especially to people who think speed isn't important, like, some of the Tai Chi guys.
Right.
They get a rude awakening when they actually see a punch coming. Your speed doesn't matter.
Right.
So that's the first one. I think that it's the least important one, but it has to be there first.
Yeah.
The second one is like, the approach to combat or application, depending on how you want to see it. It's basically, how to meaningfully use your speed. Because there are people who have seen, they believe in blind speed, but the motion is not refined.
Okay.
And they achieve very little. So I think you need to have speed, and your motion need to be meaningful. It has to be trimmed and lean and, purposeful to the precise goal you want to achieve.
Right.
So that's approach of combat. And lastly, you need accumulation of training.
So time.
Or simply put, yes, so that you can actually hurt people. Right? You can be really fast. You can have the correct technique or approach to combat. But if you just keep tapping the guy, like some of the previous Tombe people I've met, you can't win. So on top of that, you need to have the ability to hurt someone severely with one or a few hits, that you can actually end the fight or the conflict.
Right.
So you kind of need these three principles to make a martial art complete.
Okay, so that's where the name comes from.
Yes.
Okay. And in South Africa, I mean, I've been gone for so long, I'm not even sure what the martial arts scene is like anymore there, specifically the Chinese martial arts scene. I mean, what is it like? Do you have interaction with other practitioners there? What other practitioners are there? Are there any prominent practitioners or
Oh,
yeah.
well, I haven't noticed any prominent practitioners, and I don't really interact with people. I'm kind of
Mm.
antisocial that way. Also because, most of them are not really serious about training.
Yeah.
So when I interact with them, there's really nothing to talk about.
Okay. Yeah. So there's no one new really since
And
I've
I
been
don't think
gone.
I, I don't know. They could be, but I've never, I don't really go out much, so
Yeah.
I don't really know anyone. I don't go to events either.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. The more things change, the more they stay the same, it seems. Yeah.
Yes, I'm pretty sure there are new people around, but yeah, I mean, if I don't go to events or to the federation's gathering, then I wouldn't know.
Right. So coming back to you,
Yeah, but
most
I
of your
mean,
training, though, I mean, as far as I understand, your goal is similar to me. It's yourself, to develop yourself, to train yourself. I mean, um,
yes,
yeah. So you're not,
yes. Well, I want
yeah.
to, yeah, I'm kind of curious on how far Chinese martial art can go.
Mm,
Like the old stories, which are real, which are not real, which are
okay.
exaggerated.
Yeah.
When the texts say Wang Xiangzhai sent somebody flying up on the wall, I want to know how, how is it done? What's the limitation? What's the
Yeah.
requirements? Like is it possible to do that?
Right.
Because a lot of the stuff it just becomes myths eventually. Like, if I say to someone, yeah, my Tombe hit me on the arm, my arm goes numb. To a lot of people, that's just a myth. It's a
Right.
story. But if I can tell him, you know what, hold out your forearm and I'll show you, this is how it feels like, but 10 times harder.
Okay. Yeah.
And then it suddenly becomes more tangible.
Yeah.
So I don't want Chinese martial art to remain in stories, right? I want to at least preserve part of it. And the only way to preserve it is to actually be able to do it.
Exactly. So, and you not just don't want
You
it to
know,
remain
um,
in stories. You don't want the stories to become more crazy than they already are.
yes. And also a lot, especially nowadays, then a lot of people just say, oh, those are just fake
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
Like there are two cameras. There are the extremely hippie-like people who think, like Chinese martial have magical
Yeah.
powers. And there's another camp of people who are completely shut out to anything that's remotely beyond their
Yeah.
understanding.
Well, I'd say there's even three camps, and the other camp that thinks Chinese martial arts is not a martial art. It's just some, yeah,
Oh,
it's just some health
yes.
building magical exercise for health and other something else.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think all of them are not healthy.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's true. Yep.
and
It-
yes, and to disprove them, you have to have the ability. You can't just pass on
Yeah,
stories.
exactly. And now we've had you and I have spoken about it so many times and online to others as well. Shu Xiaodong, and Shu Xiaodong is a symptom of this unhealthiness that's actually occurred. People want to think he's a problem. No, he's not the problem. He's a result of a problem.
No, it's not.
He's a result of the problem.
Yes,
Yeah,
and I think thanks to him, people actually start to realize it is a problem.
exactly. But it's like it's
Before
yeah, it
him,
was
a lot of
Wang
people,
Shangjai
yeah,
before
hello?
him. You just said it. Wang
Yes.
Shangjai wasn't keeping quiet. He was actually actively challenging, talking, saying, and mocking people to in his day the way that they would do it then. It's just it's not new. But now who's
Yes.
Wang Shangjai? Apparently, he's nowadays considered by those same people who think Xu Xiaodong is the devil. They think Wang Shangjai is a saint. But actually, they're more similar than you think. Those two people and what they were doing is very similar.
Uh, yes. Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I gotta say, one thing that wasn't much like during his days either.
Exactly. That's why I say they're so similar.
Yeah.
They're so
Yes.
similar.
Yeah, I think when you do things like this, you're gonna get some hate.
Exactly. Maybe in 50 years there will be a style that came out of Xu Xiaodong's students called Feng Quan. crazy mad dog style, and he will be considered a saint of Chinese martial arts. Nah, I mean, well, that's probably not going to happen. But at the end of the day, it's like it's so funny that there's so few people that have your mentality and the mentality of training, realistic training, martial training, and pushing yourself, and testing, but so many people are so-called Chinese martial artists today. So, it's.
Well, I think people don't really enjoy fighting, which I can understand. But for me, I mean, I wouldn't say I enjoy fighting, but I've always been into fight since like primary school.
Yeah.
So my main motivation to do martial arts is that I want to be able to fight better.
Yep, same as mine.
It's like a reason that a lot of people frown upon, but it's actually the truth.
Yeah.
When I was in like grade 1, right, in Beijing, they had this saying at the time, like 一年级的小豆包一打一蹦高, and I found that very humiliating. And they were like from grade 3, they're like much older.
Right.
And back then I didn't understand the concept of age and size and all of that.
Yeah.
So I just started trying to fight them, and obviously it didn't go too well.
So they were saying the saying to you, right?
Yes, because I was like, grade 1. I just joined the school.
Okay.
And I couldn't beat them with my hand. Eventually I had to like throw a chair at them and stuff. And so, yeah. So ever since then I wanted to do martial arts because I saw that, you can magically make me able to beat up older and bigger kids. So that's like my main interest, I wasn't really interested in looking good or the cultural hype or most of the other reasons that people do it.
Those are all additional benefits, but the main root and the core of Chinese martial arts is combat. So, yeah.
Yes, and I think if that's not your goal, it's going to be very hard to carry on the proper training because it's very boring.
Right. Yeah, it's boring and it's hard.
There's almost there's no motivation for normal people to spend 4 hours a day on training.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't give them what they want. I mean, how I endure through is that I'm thinking of the next time I'm going to beat up.
Yeah.
Not in like a bully way, but like like someone who's good and I can finally overcome onto his level or be better than him.
Challenge yourself to improve. But also, I mean, at the end of the day, if you get into a bad situation, you don't want to be suddenly surprised that you're unable to defend yourself. So they're all connected.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think if people have this mentality, then then the martial art they do would be more practical.
Right. Very true. Well, okay. Well, it's been. I think we've covered most topics. I don't know if you have anything you'd like to add or anything you'd like to say. I'm gonna get your details from you about your contact details or anything that you want to be put out there, and then I'll put it in the show notes. But
okay.
Yeah, is there anything else we missed that you wanted to talk about, or you let me you say.
I think that covers most of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, it was a discussion because I've known you for a long time. The key point was to get your story out too, because martial artists are interested in hearing other martial artists' stories, and maybe some more people down there can find you and maybe come to see you if they're interested in South Africa and what you do and what you're doing there. Otherwise, it's always good to have a discussion with other martial artists. So that was the key point here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the past few years I've been doing less classes because I was doing that the warrior productions thing.
Oh, that's right.
And
you
that
were
took,
acting
like,
on
almost-
that. You were acting as a what was your role on that?
Like extra action extra.
And you were then in Cape Town filming, right?
Yeah, in Cape Town, yes.
So that's that TV show that is loosely based on the idea of Bruce Lee's TV show or something like that, right?
Yeah, apparently he wrote a script like back in the days, and then they kind of took it out again and like and made a TV show out of it.
And was it good work? Was it interesting?
Yes, it's pretty interesting. It's very tiring. As all film productions are.
Did you meet any other good martial artists there?
Well, I met like stunt people from China, so they're really good at the stunt stuff. But I haven't met any real, or should I say, traditional martial artists.
Yeah, I would expect so. I would expect a different type of person. Is the show finished?
No, actually, we did season 2 last year, and this year I think the station that it was on, which is Cinemax, got restructured.
Wow.
And they're no longer producing originals anymore. So they got like a new mission statement.
Oh, okay.
So so I think the show is really trying to find a new cable station or host.
Right.
If they don't, then it's probably going to be dead, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, that's unfortunate. But at least it'll give you time to get back onto focusing on your own training and teaching and what you want to do there. So new direction.
Yeah, because it was quite difficult to teach for the past 2 years.
Right.
Because like almost half a year I have to spend in Cape Town.
Right.
And it's very hard to run a class when I'm like half the year. The other 3 months I'm in China.
Yeah, exactly. So most of the year you're not even there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was pretty bad. Yeah. So finally, this year things started to come down a bit.
Sure. Okay, well, man, it was good speaking to you. I hope that things get better here and everywhere with this virus, and that we'll meet up when you come through to Beijing again this year. So.
Yeah, damn. I don't even know if South Africa have it or not. I don't think they even.
I don't think you'd know, to be honest. But
yes, I don't think people here care enough.
well, just be careful.
We might even have like a few hundred. We don't know. Yes. Yeah, you too.
Yeah. All right, man.
Yeah, I hope it goes better in time.
Yeah, I hope so too.